Hey guys, it's Graham. What's crackin'? In these delightful end times surrounding us, you often hear people comparing life in America to books like 1984, or Animal Farm, Lord of the Flies, The Hunger Games. These are all stories wherein the average citizen has his or her life ruined by an immoral yet powerful government of various shapes and sizes. While comparisons to these stories are often correct and useful, there's another one out there that doesn't get as much of our attention, even though it should, and that's Harrison Bergeron. I think it's Bergeron, it might be Bergeron, by Kurt Vonnegut. It's included in the What So Proudly We Hail collection, and it's the last piece that I'll be covering from that book for this channel, so buckle up. We take a ride about 60 years into the future. It was more like 110 when Vonnegut first published this in 1968. And boy, have things gone sour in America. We've got almost 200 more amendments to the Constitution, including one that states any inequality between citizens is now illegal, including natural-born differences that result from the genetic lottery known as parentage. That's right, being taller, stronger, faster, or even better looking or smarter than the average Joe is now punishable by law. How is this enforced? Well, the government does it, so their methods are extremely unfair, expensive, and painful toward innocent people. Did you happen to grow taller than the average Joe? Well, we'll strap weights to your back to bring you down. Are you also stronger than that same Joe? How about more weights to limit your strength? Are you smarter? We'll blast nonsense into your ears that'll make it impossible for you to focus on dangerous thoughts. What if you're more attractive than other people? You get to wear the ugly mask. It goes on and on. We witness the story through the eyes of George and Hazel Bergeron, I'm just going to use that pronunciation, parents of the eponymous Harrison, who is 14 years old, 7 feet tall, jacked and handsome and highly intelligent. George is also highly intelligent, but he's got one of those radios attached to his head that blasts his thoughts into oblivion when they get a little bit too intelligent. Hazel is unencumbered by such a device, as she's naturally kind of dim. The government is aware of Harrison's physical excellence, and they arrive to haul him off to prison as he won't wear the handicapped devices mandated by law. The Bergerons don't even get to protest this, as their handicaps make it impossible for them to focus on what's going on when the feds arrive. Sometime later, after Harrison is taken, they are watching TV one night. There's some show about ballerinas on, and then it's interrupted by a news flash that Harrison Bergeron has escaped prison. Harrison then breaks into the TV studio and declares himself emperor in an utterly shameless Chad move. He even takes the hottest ballerina and rips her ugly mask off, declaring her his empress. He then proceeds, in front of the entire country, to perform incredible feats of acrobatic excellence, all while the ballet orchestra plays awesome music. This Promethean display of human achievement is meant to awaken the world to what it can become, to give it something to reach for instead of being beaten down to a lowest common denominator by a government hell-bent on making everyone the same. Unfortunately, Harrison's performance is cut short when the government's handicapper general breaks into the studio and blows him away with a very egalitarian shotgun. Anyone watching this at home, like the Bergerons, has the memory quickly blasted out of their minds by their radios, and they go back to their mundane, low-average lives wearing their handicap devices. Like a lot of Vonnegut's writings, this one is a beautiful tragedy that warns the astute reader of dangerous ideas in society, even if those ideas aren't immediately recognizable. Let me go ahead and suggest that a lot of the ideas in this story already exist, and they deserve all the pushback we can give them. But Graham, you ask, how could this possibly compare to anything going on now? This is an extreme idea. Dear viewer, I present to you the concept of privilege. The most prominent form you'll hear about online is the fantastical white privilege with its lesser variations of heterosexual privilege, two-parent household privilege, speaking your home country's language, privilege, and more. Honestly, you could Google a list of privileges as decreed by your average half-head shaved Twitter screecher and come up with a dozen that you, as a sane person, would never have thought of before. Calling your individual attributes a privilege is a way to blame you for something over which you have no control, in much the same way that these societal carnival barkers want you to take the blame for things that happened decades before you were ever born. Did you ever own slaves? No, but you have white skin, and so did slave owners 160 years ago in America, so that makes you bad with a capital B, and now you have white privilege. Here's a list of ways that you are now required to suffer. Keep in mind that the idea of this white privilege thing, it's just a placeholder example, and the same standard could be applied to anything, to any physical quality or attribute that you can't control. It's an unfair judgment system that will come for any one of us at any time, regardless of your skin color or your sex or any other defining characteristic. The philosophy of privilege frequently comes part and parcel with the philosophy of equity, which used to pretend to be a philosophy of equality. There is an important distinction. Gone are the days of everyone should have the same opportunity, and in comes the era of everyone should have the same outcome. Individual choices and circumstances no longer matter, and indeed should even be apologized for, especially if society determines that you are bad for having any advantage at all. Did your parents stay married until you were an adult, giving you a stable, formative childhood? You should be punished, even though that wasn't your choice. Did you choose to learn a trade rather than pursue a degree, avoiding tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt? You should be punished for making a different choice than your peers. Are too many of your ancestors European? You should be extra punished and are beyond redemption. It sounds kind of crazy, right? I hope so. It wasn't too long ago that America had this huge social and civil movement centered on the idea that the content of your character matters more than your skin color. But now, if you have a certain skin color, you've got to have weights attached to your back. And if you have a problem with that, you need to have a radio blasting those thoughts out of your head. We'll call it privilege, and we'll say it's in the name of equity. It's a pretty ugly thing, and it's wrong to do it to anybody. The combined lessons of the American founding, the Civil War, and the Civil Rights Movement ought to point to a world where we're judged and assessed based on our choices, which we can control, instead of other attributes which we can't control. Take a look at professional sports. Michael Jordan, Peyton Manning, Wayne Gretzky. Did these men excel because of their skin color, their height, or their Canadian nationality? Or did they succeed because they put in the work to develop their talents and become Hall of Fame basketball players, football players, hockey players? Conor McGregor fought his way up from poverty to become a top-dollar UFC fighter. Gina Carano spent hours and years in the gym to become a powerful MMA queen, and then she continually labored in the acting trade to get better in front of a camera. Or what about the entertainment field? How about Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds? They're not box office draws just because of their abs. They honed their chops as actors and comedians to earn the goodwill of their fans. They made the choices and they put in the work. There are plenty of 6'8" dudes who can't play basketball. Plenty of NFL quarterbacks whose kids don't advance into the league. Plenty of Canadians named Ryan who can't make you laugh or make your girlfriend swoon. If we start putting equity markers on different traits, we just punish people for what they are and make it impossible for them to become who they are. Maybe Peyton Manning and Gina Carano never heard of Harrison Bergeron, but I dare say they've heard his words, his call to excellence, and chose to answer it by creating successful careers for themselves. Another idea that runs dangerously parallel to the concept of forced equity is the concept of diversity quotas in entertainment. This has gained traction in the last 10 years or so, with popular intellectual properties having their screen adaptations altered in the name of representation and inclusion. I say dangerous because it subtly, yet aggressively, works to undo any societal progress that has come about in the West over the last 60 years with regard to race. Diversity quotas operate under the banner of inclusivity, placing high levels of importance on the appearance of characters in TV and movies. That can't be a bad thing, right? After all, we should be inclusive of people who look different, shouldn't we? Well, yes, we should, specifically because skin color doesn't matter and character does. This is true for any cast that is all white or all black or all whatever else, or perfectly balanced across all demographics. If you're showing good characters, then you're showing me something I can aspire to or be inspired by. Claiming that representation is the highest value in an on-screen character is a flawed premise. I'm a white guy. Does that mean I couldn't relate to any of the characters on Fresh Prince growing up? Or Family Matters? Was I not supposed to watch The Cosby Show? Batman and Superman both have black hair, so I as a blondie couldn't possibly have wanted to be like them, and couldn't have seen myself in them. I certainly couldn't have been inspired by their selflessness or their heroism. I didn't look like them. I probably shouldn't have seen The Mask of Zorro, since Antonio Banderas, a Moorish-looking Spaniard from Andalusia, has nothing physically in common with a skinny, white, blue-eyed kid from the Vegas Valley. Maybe I was mistaken to see him as a vengeful street rat who learned how to pass as a debonair Spanish don, fencing and riding horses and sweeping a beautiful woman off her feet. My bad. Representation and privilege put an undue psychological burden on us as individuals, and an unfair social price tag on others. And the more we focus on burdens and price tags, the more you're going to hear malcontents screaming for equity, as if this were the highest virtue we could aspire to. Two of the core tenets of the American experiment are liberty and justice for all. Neither of these things equates with equity, which necessarily removes the value of liberty from the question and violates justice in practice. If it doesn't matter what you choose, but you will instead be punished for what you can't change, then who you really are doesn't matter. All that matters is your height, weight, strength, race, intelligence, or sex. All of these things will be boiled down into variables to be controlled. It's 2022. Harrison Bergeron takes place in 2081. Let's not take another 60 years to slow boil ourselves down that road, like we have for the last 60. Don't cut everyone down to the smallest and weakest and dumbest of us all. Small people can be strong, weak people can be smart, and the simple among us can still teach us a great deal of compassion and love. The point is that we should all reach for the most that we can be and encourage everybody else to as well. To hell with equity. Aspire for excellence. Make like Harrison Bergeron, and be your own emperor. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you'll click like and subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments below, and keep sharing these out so that YouTube will help me reach more viewers. Catch you on the next one. Drive safe. See you out there.